So to hell with good intentions. So to hell is where I'll go. But the devil makes exceptions for all American psychos. Why, hello there. Uh, I was just singing a little song. A couple of days ago, one of my favorite bands, Ice Nine Kills. I'm sure I've gushed about them before, and I'm going to gush about them again because I really like them a lot. And I would apologize for gushing about them again, but I'm not really sorry. So, no, I'm just kidding. But the other day they released a new song called "Hip to Be Scared," and along with that song, they announced an album called the Silver Screen Part 2 Welcome to Horrorwood, and it is intended as a sequel to their 2018 album, The Silver Screen. And on The Silver Screen, every song is based on a horror movie. And so, like all horror movies, there had to be a sequel, and I'm really, really excited. I was hoping they were going to do a Silver Screen Part 2, and I'm very surprised that they are, simply because I never really get what I want in that regard. Um, but yeah, this new song, I can't stop singing it. It's stuck in my head, but it's not actually annoying me. I'm still enjoying it. Give it a couple of days, and I'll start beating my head against the wall. But right now, I'm enjoying it. But anyway, hey friends, welcome to Podcast of the Nerds. My name is Jack, and if you're watching the video version, you'll see that it's just me here today. It's just me. And if you're listening to the audio version, you'll also know now that Ian is indeed not with us today. He had a bit of a family emergency, and he had to head back to Colorado in a bit of a hurry. But he should be back with us next week. But we'll just have to see what happens. He's dealing with some stuff and figuring some stuff out. He's okay. He's okay, but he's just got some stuff to deal with. And since we've been on a bit of a roll lately with posting weekly episodes, rather than break that streak, we decided that the show must go on, and I'm here to hold the fort in his absence. So how are you? You're looking well. You've been working out, been practicing self care. You're looking good. I'm proud of you. Keep it up. um, and since it's just you and I here today, why don't you why don't you get comfy, pull up a stump, grab a hot chocolate, a cup of coffee like I've got here, and just get comfortable, and let's just hang out together. Just the two of us. We'll have a little chat and just have a good old time. Hey. Um. So in preparing for this, my second solo episode, I've spent a bit of time reflecting on this whole podcast of the nerds journey. My first my first episode was episode 23, Fear and Smoldering in Australia, which was posted on the 15th of July 2020, which funnily enough is exactly 1 year ago as I'm recording, and as most of you will be seeing this, because hopefully I'll get this uploaded tonight, bar an internet dropout or something. But yeah. So happy anniversary, you guys, and I just want to say thank you to everybody who has been just so incredibly loving and supportive through this whole thing. It really means a lot. But yeah, I've spent the last few days just sort of reflecting and thinking about the contrast, I guess, between now and then. Um, I remember being so nervous and absolutely terrified during my first recording. And if you go back and watch it, you'll see I'm very stiff, very I think The episode begins with me sort of hyperventilating a little, and Ian having a bit of a giggle and talking me down, and then we spoke a lot about fear, and yeah, no, it ended up being a great episode. But you know, it's funny though, because even though I wasn't live, and even though I was just hanging out and having a chat with one of my best friends, I was just incredibly nervous. And I think there's lots of reasons for that, but yeah, no. If I can be honest with you, and I guess be a little vulnerable here, um, things were a little tough for me at first with the podcast, because there was just a lot of times when we'd finish recording and I just wouldn't be happy with my performance, for lack of a better word. I would obsess over stuttering too much, or feeling as though I explained something poorly and made myself look stupid, or just, yeah, just things like that, worrying about or just thinking I didn't do a good enough job, and it would really get me down sometimes. Like, I'd really just spend a lot of time just beating myself about beating myself up about it, which is just, it's ridiculous. But and that voice doesn't necessarily go away, not for me anyway, but it certainly has gotten a lot quieter, especially the last couple of months, and it's been a lot easier to ignore it. And I suppose the whole thing, it stems from issues that I have, that I've been working on in therapy, surrounding, self-esteem, self-perception. And whilst I've made and whilst I've made a lot of progress, there isn't really a finish line with these sorts of things, which I know I talk about a lot. But we just find a way to deal with these things, and carry them in a way that is healthier, and in a way that feels lighter, I guess, and is less destructive, I suppose. Um, but now, when I feel like we didn't have a great episode, or I don't feel happy about my quote unquote performance, or if I start to beat myself up, I'll think about what it is that I'm bothered by and why I feel bothered by it. More often than not, it's something silly that doesn't warrant the energy that I'm wasting worrying about it. And then, in the rare times I think there truly was something off about my, again, quote unquote performance, I try to just learn from it and use it as a means of refining things for the next time. Because that's the point of it, really. There's always a next time. And Ian and I have never released an episode that we truly didn't like, and I don't think we would. And truth be told, we've scrapped ideas in the scripting phase, then had to come up with other ideas on the spot. But we've never recorded an episode and then scrapped it. Touch wood, because yeah, that would be kind of a pain in the ass, I think. But anyway, I've I've used the word performance quite a bit. I realize, and I use that word because in a way it is a performance. I mean, Ian and I really try to make things as organic as we can, and that's partly why we often do like an unscripted cold open of sorts. We press record and just start chatting and see where it goes, and then we sort of ease our way into the script. And yes, we always have a script, of course. With this kind of format, scripting is pretty essential. I mean, I'm working off a written script right now, but we don't have like a strict word for word script. We've mentioned it before, but we did that in the past and found it didn't really work. We would just get sort of lost in it, and like misspeak a lot, because we were trying to read something word for word, and it just didn't work. So now we try to have more of a loose script with bullet points or prompts, and and we often just let the conversation go where it goes. We go off script like all the freaking time. And usually you can tell when we've gone off script by the length of the episode. We've done a bit of experimenting and we've had a lot of discussion about episode length, and we've come to the conclusion that it's best if we aim for something between an hour to an hour and a half. But if it's any longer than that, it's typically because we've gone off script, which is kind of what I'm doing now. But anyway, let's try and get back on track here. Um, Excuse me, just taking a little sip of my coffee here. Yeah, I've been doing this for a year now, and as I said, the difference I feel within myself is night and day. Um, yeah, no, as I also said in the beginning, I was terrified. I lacked a lot of confidence, and I just feel so much better within myself and my ability to do this. I still get the jitters. We both do. Both Ian and I still get it. And the thing is, like, this right here, this is the fun part. What I'm doing right now, recording. Once Ian and I hit record and start talking, the nervousness pretty much immediately melts away, which is, definitely it's not something that I had in the beginning. I would be nervous throughout most of an episode in the beginning. But yeah, no, I enjoy it a lot more now. And yeah, this part right here, recording, this is the fun part, and this is the part that we both enjoy because at the end of the day, we're just two buds hanging out and having a chat. I mean, it's just great to spend time with my best friend and just have a good time. But yeah, the other parts are like pulling teeth, especially scripting. Um, Sorry, just another sip of my coffee. I think I can speak for both Ian and I when I say that scripting is our least favorite part of the process. But so let me peel back the curtain a little bit and give you guys a bit of a behind the scenes glimpse of podcast of the nerds. So we record in the morning my time. I get up around 8 a.m. and then around 10 a.m. we get to work, which I think for Ian is about 7 p.m. So yeah, we get on Skype. We open up a script template. Then if we haven't already got something planned, and most of the time we don't, one of us will say to the other, "So, what do you want to talk about today?" And then the other will say, "I don't know. What do you want to talk about?" And then we kind of sit there and brainstorm for a bit, and then once we figure it out, we start writing the script. Yeah, no, that process alone takes about an hour, maybe a bit longer, depending on how just depending on how snappy we're feeling, and yeah, I don't know whether we can't come up with the good idea pretty quickly. Excuse me. Um, but that is a habit that we're really trying to change because it'd be so much easier and less time consuming and just less energy sapping if we already have a script prepared and ready to go when we get together to record. Because as it stands, the whole process, like scripting, setting up, and recording, that takes about 4 hours. Maybe a little longer if we get lost in a conversation that goes to places we didn't expect. Um, which that's not so bad for me because it's the middle of the day, but there have been nights when Ian hasn't gotten to bed until like 4 or 5 in the morning, and that's way too much for him. That's really not fair. But then once Ian goes to bed, I get to work on getting things edited and uploaded, and the editing process doesn't take too long. because it's a pretty simple edit. I just have to sync up our audio, and lately I've begun splicing in snippets of the trailers for the films we talk about, but that's very simple and doesn't take long either. And then of course I make sure the fanfic reading is in and in the right place in the edit. And yeah, so editing, it takes probably about 20 minutes, but then I have to export both the video and the audio versions. And the audio only takes like a minute or two, but the video version can sometimes take up to an hour. Yeah, exporting, it takes a while. For some reason on my rig it does, and I have a decent computer, but I'm not sure why it just takes a long while sometimes. Um, and then and then I have to upload to both YouTube and the website, and posting to all the social media channels, and that takes probably a couple of hours all up. There have been many late nights where I've been working until 2 in the morning. So I guess for me, in a way, it'd be beneficial if we start scripting. Well, the day before, I guess. But yeah, that was my long-winded way of saying that it'd be a lot less time consuming and even less stressful if we prepared the script a day before. But anyway, you know, I feel like I've come so far the last year. I mean, we both have, honestly. And this is now the second solo episode I've done on my own. The last one was episode 30, Let's Do It, and that was posted on the 22nd of September last year, 2020. Um, and talking about contrast again, I feel so differently about it this time. Um, the pre-podcast jitters are certainly stronger, and as I'm speaking, I'm still feeling it a little bit. If I can be honest with you, um, and the jitters are stronger than they are going into a normal episode. When Ian is here, because yeah, I don't know, when Ian is here, we have each other to bounce off of, and we can rely on each other to rein the conversation back in or direct it in some way. We can just lean on each other, I guess. And doing this alone, I don't have that. But yeah, last time I really had no idea if I could actually pull it off until I actually did it. I knew I was going to try, but whether or not I could actually do it was another story. But now this time, when Ian told me he needed to go back to Colorado, and if I'd be okay to do a solo episode, I immediately said yes without question. Well, I did last time too, but I had much less trepidation about it this time. But then, of course, I had that voice in my head that was like, "Wait, are you crazy? You can't do that." But then, almost immediately, I thought, "Of course I can. I've done it before, so why can't I do it again?" Um, yeah, no. This stuff is still in a way new to me, but at the same time, it isn't. I guess. I've done some public speaking in the past. I did drama for a few years in high school. That's theater for those of you playing in the United States. And I'm a very extroverted person. My friends would describe me as loud and silly with an often dysfunctional brain filter. um, but honestly, I feel better equipped going into it this time. I'm much more comfortable with the format, and I just have a ton more experience. And more importantly, I have a lot more confidence, and I believe in myself a hell of a lot more now than I did back then. And yeah, no, another huge part of it is I feel like I've bonded with a few of you in the audience, quite a few of you actually. Ian and I, we talk about it all the time, but we are very lucky over here on the podcast channel that we have a rather small but very dedicated and supportive crowd. We always see the same names in the comments section, and I've had so many wonderful conversations with people here on YouTube and over on Twitter, and I'm incredibly thankful for that, and so is Ian. Um, but in a way, I feel like when we record, it's like I'm checking in and saying hi to some of my friends. It's a nice way to sort of frame it in my head, and it just I don't know, it just makes me enjoy this whole thing a lot more too. So yeah, I mean, I know I say it all the time, and I think I've said it this episode already, but thank you all for being here and for being so supportive and so warm towards us and myself. And yeah, thank you for 1 year of podcast of the nerds, and here's to many more. I'm gonna toast you with my coffee here. Um, and I know I've said this before, but Ian, I don't know if you're watching or listening to this, but thank you for everything you've given me and for all the ways in which you've helped me. Thank you for dragging me out of my comfort zone, often kicking and screaming. Thank you for pushing me to try new things, and thank you for never setting me up to fail, and for showing me how to do things when I don't know how to do them. And most of all, thank you for being inhumanly patient with me every step of the way, because I know sometimes I'm a manic, crazy pain in the ass. But thanks, man. I love you very much. I also want to thank Lonnie Diane Rich from Chipperish Media. I remember back when I did the first solo podcast, I was really scared and I was really unsure of what to do. And Lonnie sat with me in a video call for like an hour, give me a bit of a pep talk. We spoke a lot about creativity and finding one's voice, and just throwing caution to the wind and just trying new things. You know, and it helped so much. And I don't know if the first solo podcast would have been as successful as it was without her. So, Lani, thank you very much. Thank you for being my friend, and thank you for being one of my loudest cheerleaders. Here's to you, my love. I would also like to thank my Muppet Sex and Trauma crew, Sarah Ezat and Josh Gosden, who some of you might recognize from the Patreon Hangouts. But for those of you who don't know, I've started a second podcast with Sarah and Josh, of course, called Muppet Sex and Trauma. We're going through every episode of the TV show Farscape. Sarah is a Farscape veteran. She's seen the show, I think, several times. But Josh and I are newbies. We haven't seen it before, so she's taking us on a little adventure through the show, and it's been a lot of fun so far. I think we've done 7 episodes, so we're still in season 1. The show's still growing on me and whatnot, but it's still been a hell of a lot of fun. But yeah, I just want to say thank you to those guys for help for sorry, excuse me, for inviting me on this adventure, but also for being very patient and supportive of me when I got sick a little while back. We weren't able to record for quite a while, and even though I felt bad about it, they showed me nothing but kindness. So thanks, guys. Much love. Sorry, excuse me again. But in the spirit of connection and community, I thought I'd finish up here. This episode probably isn't going to go as long as we normally do. But I thought I'd finish up here by responding to some comments on previous videos, and I also put a call out on Twitter for some questions and whatnot. But so yeah, let's do a bit of a Q&A. We'll have a bit of a chat, and I'll respond to some comments, and yeah. So our first question comes from Tim Branston over on Twitter. Tim asks, "What would you attempt if it was certain you would not fail? No superpowers. Sorry." Damn you, Tim. Why wouldn't you ask me what superpower I would choose? But Tim, I would like to make a movie. Ian and I talk about goals, and particular our big dream goal. And if my dream goal is to make my own content for YouTube, my ultimate mega life goal would be to make a movie. I'm not entirely sure what it would be about. I have a few ideas, like I like to do a contemporary retelling of Waiting for Godot by Samuel Beckett. I think it'd be cool to make a horror movie. But yeah, I just think making a film would be such an incredibly fun and creative experience for me, and like it'd be like a mind-blowing achievement for me, I think. So that's what I would do. But and anyway, Tim, since you didn't ask me what superpower I would choose, I'll have to ask myself. So hey Jack, yes Jack, if you could have any superpower of your choosing, what would you choose? Well, Jack, I'm glad you asked, because I'd like to be able to fly. Because who wouldn't want to be able to fly, right? Even though I'm not a huge fan of heights, so I don't know, but maybe it'd be like immersion therapy, a means for me to overcome that fear. I don't know. I don't like heights, but I'd like to be able to fly. But anyway, thanks, Tim. Our next comment comes from Aaron Smith, a regular in our comment section, and someone I've had many lovely interactions with. Aaron says, and this was on our last episode, Moving the Stone. I think it was episode 45, 46. I should have checked that, but I didn't. But Aaron says, another great episode. Always a pleasure to see it pop up in my feed. Usually when I'm at work, and I definitely don't use it as an excuse to procrastinate from that. However, I can absolutely justify it this time because I'm sitting at my laptop geeking out about learning theory. I honestly had so many scream moments during this episode in particular, and could write a small essay on it in the comments, but I'm resisting the urge to get out my PowerPoint slides. I kind of wish you would. She also says, yeah, yes, please, to the reading stream. I'm terrible at making time to read, even though it really wouldn't be that difficult to pick up my book instead of checking Twitter for the nth time. So it sounds like it could even fit well as something Jack could even contemplate hosting. Hint, hint, nudge, nudge. Under the Jack Graham brand of "Let's go do stuff" / sounds terrifying. Let's do it. No reason that has to be limited to just movies. I agree with you. But she also says, well done, Ian, at your volunteering efforts. If you are trying to get creative, then it depends what you want to get out of the experience. Perhaps think about what skills / knowledge you already have that could help you give back in some way, if that's your focus. There are also probably opportunities that you could either do remotely or look to set up now for post moving. Maybe mentoring or coaching, doing outreach with the elderly, or at care homes where you could read to people / offer your company. Basically, offering your time in whatever way, even if it's just looking for small acts of kindness. There may even be a way of combing this with your longer term goal by doing something with the dramatic edge, such as dramatic readings, play readings to small groups, etc. Though think about it, how much time are you already using to offer your skills and experience? This podcast alone has a lot of life coaching and mentoring in it, and it sounds like this isn't a standalone thing. So you may not be far away from already achieving your goal. Yep, I got on it nerdy on your occupational hazard. Well, Aaron, I love the idea of a reading stream as well, and I'm very much looking forward to it. Um, as to the hosting of it, I'm not sure if I could host it on my non-existent channel but existing YouTube account, because I think you need to have a certain amount of subs, or something before you can stream. Don't quote me there. I'm not entirely sure, but it's just something I've heard. I think you have to be like established in some way. But I could look into it, and perhaps sometime in the future, it's something I could host. It's something I'm very willing to do. Um, but I very much appreciate you prodding and poking at me to make my own content. And I'm also glad that you're into the let's go do stuff idea. And for those of you who might have missed the episode where I talked about it, I have an idea for some original content I'll probably call "Let's Go Do Stuff." Um, and what that is I will record myself going out and doing stuff I've never done before. So like maybe like pottery or skydiving or maybe like cooking a lobster confit or something. I don't know. I just think it sounds like it could be really fun, and it could lead to some learning experiences and to, I guess, broaden my horizons and whatnot. But I think for the time being, until COVID isn't as much of a thing as it is now, I'll probably have to keep it to doing things that require minimal contact with the outside world. But I'm also not sure where I would put it. I mean, on YouTube, of course, but I don't know whether I'd put it on the same channel as the media reviews I'd like to do, because I feel as though the two subjects would have very different audiences. But anyway, I guess we'll see what happens. I really want to do it, and Aaron, I very much appreciate your enthusiasm there. As to the rest of your comment, which was directed at Ian, I'll make sure he sees it. There's a good chance he already has. Um, but I can confirm that he does spend a lot of time offering his skills and experience. I mean, I've seen it firsthand because he spent a lot of time mentoring me on many different things. But honestly, that's Ian in the nutshell. He's a very caring and very patient person, but he's also incredibly generous. And when I say generous, I mean in the broad spectrum. Like he'll give you the shirt off his back, but also he will sit down with you and teach you how to make a thumbnail in Photoshop, which he and I did a couple of weeks ago. Like just stuff like that. Yeah, like he's just I don't know, that guy is just pure love. Like honestly, like he's just I don't know, he's just a great guy. But anyway, Aaron, it's lovely to hear from you. Thanks for the support, and thanks for being such a cool cat, and for being so active in this community and getting on board with all of the stuff that we do. It really means a lot. So thanks. Next, we have another comment from YouTube from Brandiella. That's a familiar name I've seen around a lot. I think Brandiella comes to streams and whatnot. But anyway, Brandiella says, I had the spider experience with ants. They want the water out of my faucet, so they're all over my kitchen. And at first, it was gross, and I was freaking out, just like Ian described. Now it's just like, goddamn, ants are back. Where's the fucking sponge? I solved the problem of finding time to read by carving out a half hour or so at bedtime. Basically, I go to bed and read until I fall asleep. I too prefer physical books to audio, although I can listen to them while I drive and pay reasonable attention. It works better if I've read the book before. So if you missed it, in last episode, Ian talked about how after filming the episode before that, he found a spider crawling up his microphone, which inadvertently led to him looking up and finding hundreds of baby spiders crawling on the ceiling. And it was quite funny because, we're just chatting, and all of a sudden we see a spider crawl up his mic, and he stood up and freaked out. And then it was like he bumped something, and the call just like it just dropped immediately, and it was was almost comical. So I sent him a message, and I'm like, "Well, Godspeed, Spider-Man." But yeah. So then at 4 or 5 in the morning, he spent ages trying to squish as many spiders as possible before he shaved his head and showered to ensure that no baby spiders were on him. I don't blame him, because I would have done the same. But Brandy Allah, as an Australian, I've had my fair share of interactions with unwanted insects and pests. Um, and when it's a persistent thing, like you mentioned, you end up just finding a certain kind of apathy with it, sort of like an uneasy acceptance, kind of. But yeah, going back to my early 20s, I used to get into bed and reading the book until I fell asleep. I'm not the best sleeper, and I think I've said it before, but I have a love-hate relationship with sleep. I love it, but I hate it because I never get enough, and it's often hard for me to fall asleep. So yeah, I used to read in bed because then it help me get sleepy, and it used to work pretty well. Last time I tried it though, I read like 80 pages, then realized it was 3 in the morning, and I was wide awake, and I was really into the book and wanted to keep reading. But maybe I should give it another try though, because that was probably like 10 years ago now, I think. And it helped, and it also helped to get through, to help me get through this book I'm currently reading, which admittedly hasn't been going great. But in saying that, I have been pretty busy and very tired this last week or so. Um, and it's definitely nothing to do with the book. I've enjoyed what I have read of it, and I'm very interested. But hopefully I'll get through it a bit more before the reading in stream. But if I don't, that's what the stream is for, I guess. um, the next comment comes from the lovely Carly Rich, another regular commenter in the community. Carly says, "Hey guys, glad you're back. And I wanted to tell you how much I liked your video on Into the Woods. I watched it for 4 times over 2 days. Wow, Carly, wow, that's incredible." Which I've never done on any of your other videos. It was that good. I agree the episode itself is kind of dumb, but you did an amazing job unpacking every part of it. And since it is the big Riley send off, it made sense to me that you would spend some time with it. I agree. I loved everything in the video. At no point did it feel too long or excessive. The only part that bummed me out was hearing about how much it tortured you. I wish it was easier on you to birth your art, but I suppose just like actual childbirth, you need some pain to balance out the beauty cliche much. The thing I remembered the most about the movie Don Juan de Marco was the Brian Adams song. Yeah, there was like an orchestral version, if I remember correctly. I heard that song so much when the movie came out. I too was a 14-year-old hopeless romantic at that time, and a big Brian Adams fan. So I loved the song and thus assumed the movie was good too. Years later, when I finally watched it, I just remember being very, very disappointed. I don't even remember any details about the movie, just that it was overall meh. Your opening conversation about alcohol consumption or alternatives was enlightening. Y'all are lucky I grew up with 4 older brothers and a butch mama. Lol. Thank you for reminding me that I'm just a fly on the wall listening to a conversation that was going to happen regardless of an audience. Also, ew, gross. That's fair, Carly. That is very, very fair. If you missed that episode of the podcast, I opened by asking Ian if he had ever butt chugged anything, which technically was an unscripted cold open. We were about to hit record, and I have no idea why it popped into my head. Honestly, I was probably just being silly and trying to make Ian laugh, so I just said, "Have you ever butt chugged anything?" And he paused and looked at me with this mixture of shock and amusement and befuddlement. And him was like, "Let's start recording and you can ask me again." And the rest is podcast of the nerds history. Um, but anyway, yeah, I loved the Into the Woods video as well. I can tell you, and I mean, Ian has already talked about it, but it was a difficult one for him to write, and because he was concerned about it. Well, one of the things he was concerned about was he was worried it would be a really contentious video. But I was so proud of him for sticking to his guns and for not chopping it down like he initially wanted to. And I think it's one of his best videos so far. It was insightful and well thought out and fleshed out. Um, there weren't any holes in it, um, and it was technically very sound and just very well put together and constructed. I was really impressed with some of the edits that he did in that video. But the guy is an editing god. Like, he's taught me everything I know about editing as an art form. I learned a lot of technical stuff on my own, but all the technical skill in the world doesn't teach you editing as an art form. It doesn't teach you flow and tone and all of those things. And that's what he's taught me a lot about. But yeah, Don Juan Del Marco was an interesting watch. That was a few weeks ago now, maybe even a little bit longer, getting on to a month. I'm not sure. But on reflection, I mean, I still enjoyed it, and I'm glad I watched it. And I don't necessarily think it's a bad movie, but I feel as though its ideas and its concept and what it was trying to say was better than the film itself. If you know what I mean, does that make sense? It also spurred on a great conversation on the podcast and got me thinking about my own perceptions of love and romanticism and being in love and all of that stuff, and just reflecting on previous relationships that have gone wrong. And it's sort of but it also served to remind me that how beautiful and how powerful love can be. So yeah, I enjoyed it. But I remember before we watched it, when it came up in the list and we rolled it, Ian warned the group that while he loved it, it's a bad movie, and I don't think I necessarily agree with that. Um, I don't think it's a bad movie, and I mean, I don't think it's necessarily a good movie either. I mean, it's not a good movie, but it's not bad. It's cute and it's charming and it has a lot of heart, and that's what I appreciate it for. And I'm really glad I watched it. But anyway, as always, it's great to hear from you, Carly. Thanks again for your support. When Ian is back home, we are planning on doing some more Buffy bad takes for upcoming episodes, and I'm sure one per perfect scene will make a re-emergence at some point. Um, yeah. But that one is a little trickier than Buffy bad takes. I believe I've made a little mistake here because um yeah, oops. So I missed. I could have sworn Carly asked me about Buffy bad takes, but okay, I've made a bit of a mistake here. I apologize, but the show must go on. But I mean, for anyone interested in Buffy bad takes, yes, that will come back, and I'm sure one perfect scene will make a reemergence at some point too. But yeah, one perfect scene is a little trickier than Buffy bad takes, kind of, because there's a lot of contentious things we can debate about in the Buffyverse, and we already have quite a few ideas for that. But with one perfect scene, one of us has to have a scene that we love, that we want to share with each other and with you guys. And there's lots of scenes that we love, but it's a little more difficult to figure out whether that fit into the category of one perfect scene. But it'll come back. Don't you worry. But yeah, thanks, Carly. And I don't know how. I don't think I ended up reading out the part where you asked about Buffy bad takes. I don't think. Um, but I'm sure you did. But anyway, moving on. Back over to Twitter, we have a question from GoGoGadget99, aka Sarah Malian. Yet another person I've had some cool conversations with, and I hope I am pronouncing your name correctly, Sarah. But Sarah asks, are you planning a strip? Are you planning a trip to the States in the future? Actually, yes. We've had plans for me to fly out there for the last 3, maybe 4 years at this point, and it was meant to happen last year, but then the apocalypse happened, which threw a spanner into the works. But the short answer is yes. We just don't know exactly when. Originally, the idea was for me to fly out there for a few weeks to hang out and do a couple of bad decisions live streams. But since Ian quit drinking, and since bad decisions isn't really a thing anymore, we obviously won't be doing that. But when it does happen, we'll definitely do some creative stuff together. Maybe some streams, and maybe an episode of the podcast with the two of us in the same room, which I think could be really fun. We've also talked about the idea of doing some creative, artsy performance style stuff together, which would be really fun. But yeah, so the short answer is yes. We just don't know exactly when. But cheers for the questions, Sarah, and thank you for the support. Next question comes from our dear friend Sarah Azat, aka the Costume Nerd. Sarah asks, if you met variants of yourself, what would the animal variant of you be? Also, what might the female variant of you be named? You know, I want to say the animal version of me would be a silverback gorilla. Simply because they're majestic and cool and powerful. But in actuality, I'd probably be like, I don't know, like something that resembles Sid the Sloth from Ice Age, or maybe like an orangutan or something. And my female name? Well, I mean, the easiest answer would be Jackie or Jacqueline, but I'm gonna say Abigail simply because I've always loved that name. I think it's a pretty name. So if I was a girl, or there was a girl version of me out there, her name would be Abigail. But thank you, Sarah. Thanks for the question, and we love you very much. And lastly, but certainly not least, we have a question from a dear friend of the show and regular at the Patreon Hangouts, Boris Prol, aka Defrosted Robot, who asks, have you guys seen any of the latest Marvel offerings since WandaVision? No, not yet. We haven't, but we are planning to. Well, I mean, I did watch. I think it was 2 episodes of Falcon and the Winter Soldier, and I decided to stop because it was still airing at that point. So I decided to stop and wait until it had finished so I could binge it. Then Ian and I talked about potentially watching it together, since he and I are both MCU fans. So I'm sure we will at some point. Just not sure when. Um, I kind of want to watch Loki first. Just like go ahead and watch Loki because It looks like it's a lot more fun and interesting than Falcon and the Winter Soldier, but I guess we'll just see what happens. But yeah, my friends, I suppose that's it from me. Sorry, this is a little bit of a shorter episode. But thank you so much for hanging out with me, and once again, thank you so much for 1 year of podcast of the nerds. I can't wait to see what the next year brings. And since Ian isn't here to do a fanfic reading, I thought I would do a special little reading of my own to close us out. But before we get into that, I wanted to let you know that I'm at Lack of Surprise One on Twitter. That's all one word with the number one at the end. And you can also find Ian at Ian Nitram. If you'd like to support the podcast and keep us flush with emergency funds for family emergencies, you can do so at patreon.com/passion of the nerd. With the $5 and up club, you can join us in the hangout, which has been postponed for two weeks, I believe. But when we do get around to it, we will be talking about the Angel episode reunion, and that'll be 5 p.m. US Eastern time for the rewatch, then 6:30 p.m. for the hangout itself. And once again, that'll be in two weeks from this weekend. You can also help us out by grabbing yourself something from passionofthenerd.com/store. We have new designs, wonderful submissions from the incredibly talented Liz, hoodies, mugs, posters, and all of the regular stuff you didn't expect to find in a merch store. So yeah. Alrighty, well, let's go over to me from 30 seconds or so in the future for a very special reading. This is Last Journey by Timothy Coote. There is a train at the station with a seat reserved just for me. I'm excited about its destination, as I've heard it sets you free. The trials and tribulations, the pain and stress we breathe, don't exist where I am going, only happiness, I believe. I hope that you will be there to wish me on my way. It's not a journey you can join in. It's not your time today. There'll be many destinations. Some are happy, some are sad. Each one a brief reminder of the great times that we've had. Many friends I know are waiting who took an earlier train to greet and reassure me that nothing has really changed. We'll take the time together to catch up on the past, to build a new beginning, one that will always last. One day you'll take your journey on the train just like me, and I promise that I'll be there at the station and you will see that life is just a journey enriched by those you meet. No one can take that from you. It's always yours to keep. But now, as no seat is vacant, you will have to muddle through. Make sure you fulfill your ambitions, as you know I'll be watching you. And if there's an occasion to mention who you knew, speak kindly of that person, as one day it will be you. Now I can't accept this ending, and as it's time for me to leave, please make haste to the reception to enjoy my drinks. They're free. Thanks, friends. I'll see you next time.